guys, Preacher 357 here. I'm going to be wading out to my shop here because it's so muddy out here. Just came back from Jackson, Tennessee, where they had a gun show, and went to the gun show but didn't really find much there. Then I went down to a little shop on the south side of town there, Direct Hit, and just happened to run across something I thought was kind of interesting, something I've been thinking about for a while, and they had one there that was a used model for a good price, and thought it'd be a good thing to pick up, so thought maybe I would do something of a first shots video for you, because I hadn't shot this gun. I just now got home with it. I'm going to take it in the shop here, and I'm going to oil it up, and I always do that first. I always clean it up a little bit first before I do anything else, and just make sure it's got some lubrication on it. I know it's not necessarily strictly 100% necessary with, you know, a lot of your modern firearms. They'll run no matter what. It really doesn't hurt them too bad, but I like to make sure I got a little bit of lubrication on them. So I'm going to go here into the shop and do a little bit of that, and we'll tear it down for the first time and kind of take a look at it, and I'll let you see me do that, and then we'll take it out on the range and shoot a little bit, and we'll see what we think about it. So let's get in here into the shop. All right, guys, I'm in here in the shop now at the cleaning table, and here is the gun that I have picked up. It is a Sig Sauer P365. This is the standard 365. It's not the XL model. They make an XL and they make an X, which is actually the same size slide, but the longer grip. This one is just the original P365, the smaller version, which is what I'd really been thinking about picking up one of these kind of guns, whether this one or the Springfield or maybe even the Shield Plus from Smith & Wesson, because I like Smith & Wesson so much. There's a Ruger that's on the market, the Max 9. And there's also a Taurus that's getting really good reviews that you know, a lot of people seem to like. So, you know, the GX4, I think is what it's called. And that might even be an option. You know, they've got a bad reputation from years ago, but pretty much everyone you talk to now has really said that they've stepped up their game quite a bit. So even that Taurus might be an option. And I'd like to possibly test out all of them at some point, but now I've got the 365 here. And so I'm going to take it down, oil it up, just check it out, make sure everything looks all right before I take it out there and shoot it, and then we'll go out on the range. So let me get to the cleaning table here and get this thing apart. All right, guys, we've got the P365 here at the cleaning table, and I'm going to take it down. It looks like there's, you know, a takedown lever here, much like what you would see on, you know, like a Beretta 92 or a lot of different ones that have the ones that lock down. Looks like it wants to go all the way down though. Let's see. There it goes. Apparently you have to take the magazine out for the takedown lever to go all the way down. Now we should just be able to release the slide and it come off. There it goes. And we got a captured recoil spring, dual recoil spring that's captive. Very similar to what you would see in the Gen 4 or newer series Glocks. Captive recoil spring there. Got our barrel. Short barrel here. I'm not exactly sure what the length is on this. I'm going to say it's about a 3.3 inch or something like that. Guess I need to look that up. I'm not really sure what the specs are on it. I'll try to remember and put that up on the screen. And now here we've got our slide taken apart. A little bit of wear on there where it's clearly been shot. It's a used gun, obviously. But doesn't look too bad in there. Don't really see any what looks like machine marks, just some wear marks from firing. But everything looks like it's in good working order. I don't see anything that really stands out as being any kind of an issue. Feed rev appears to be smooth. Barrel is clear. Let's see if I can find my bore snake here. Bore light. What I meant. Just kind of take a look at the rifling there. Yeah, looks pretty good. I don't see anything that looks out of the ordinary or damaged or anything like that. Chamber looks fine. So this looks to be in good shape here. It's your basic semi-auto pistol, really. It doesn't look any different than any of the rest of them for the most part. You know, you've got your striker. There's a firing pin block, it looks like there, or striker block that the trigger has to activate for the striker to go home. Just a safety, you know, basic kind of thing. It's like a nice beefy extractor on there. So it looks like a well-made gun, which you would expect from Sig Sauer. Sig Sauer's a reputable brand, so you wouldn't expect anything less. But I don't see anything that looks, you know, like it was machined poorly or anything like that. So I think we've got a gun that's been made well here. So let's just get a little bit of ballistol on here. Not having to do a lot here, not really trying to do a detailed clean or anything, because we're about to fire it anyway. We'll get a little bit of that ballistol on the rails here, and you can see it's a little bit dirty. If you ever had it, wasn't as meticulous about cleaning probably as I am, but that's probably not out of the ordinary. Most people probably aren't as meticulous about cleaning their guns as I am. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not making a judgment one way or another. We all have our own ways of doing it. And I do it the way I do it because I think it's best, but who am I, right? Hell, my opinion is not the standard of right and wrong. I am not the go-to expert who gets to determine the proper technique for everything. I just do what I think is best, and if it's not, and somebody can point that out to me and show me a better way and prove it to me, and I'm more than willing to change if that's what needs to happen. But some of this stuff is really just up to the person, you know, how much you want to put into it. Because these guns are manufactured these days to where they're not too susceptible to malfunctioning just because they're a little dirty. You know, there was a time guns tended to do that a lot more, your 1911s, and some of those guns, if they get really dirty, can start not running as well. They're not properly maintained and taken care of. These polymer frame firearms they've got coming out now the tolerances are not nearly as tight, and you know there's a lot more give, I guess you could say, a lot more room to play with, and they tend to function. If you've ever seen any of the tests that Tim Military Arms channel that they've done on some of the torture testing and some of that they've done with their gauntlet and all that, you know, you can get them to a point where they won't run, obviously. But those are really out of the ordinary types of tests, and then, you know, I think he'll even admit to that as well, that most of the time you're not going to dunk your gun completely underneath mud. I mean, it could happen if you're out in the woods or out in the fields or something, but most of the time that's not going to happen. You're not going to dunk it in sand. You're not going to dunk it in all these places. Most of the time it's just going to be on your side. And I don't plan on torture testing any of these guns. That's just not my thing. It's not something I plan on doing with this channel. We'll see. Maybe one day I will if there's just enough interest in that kind of thing and I just run out of other ideas. Maybe I'll start borrowing some ideas from Military Arms channel and we'll run a gauntlet or something. But that's not in my plan at the moment. And so I want to run a little bit down the bore as well, just to clear it out a little bit here. I'm not going to scrub it or anything, just run a patch down it. And then that will probably be good enough to satisfy me for this moment until we get out there and do some shooting with it. So everything looks like it's in good working order to me. I'm not expecting this gun to malfunction or anything, but you never know. It's a used firearm. It may be one that the person before me had trouble with, and that's why they traded it in, because they didn't want to mess with SIG and they didn't want to have to go through customer service and all that. It didn't function right, so they just decided to trade it in versus messing with it. So that could be the case. This may be a lemon. Who knows? But we'll find out here in just a minute. We're going to go out to the range and do a little bit of shooting. We'll see how I like it. We'll see how it functions. And we'll see if maybe it can find a place in my carry gun rotation. You know, I just did that video on my carry guns, and obviously this wasn't one of them, but it's one that I've thought about for a while. I don't know where it's going to fall in. I don't know if it's a gun that could possibly end up being a pocket carry. Some people do that. It seems like it's a little big for pocket carry to me, because even, you know, the Ruger that I've got, the little 380, you know, for a semi-auto to me is about as big as I really want to go, I think. A revolver's a little different. They're made, you know, they're curved, or they're just a little different the way they're made. They ride a little bit better even when they're bigger in a pocket to me. But, you know, I may be wrong. I may be buying an Alabama pocket holster for this thing and carrying it. I don't know yet. But we got to get it out the range and shoot it first and see how it does before we even talk about whether I'm going to carry it or not. Because if it's not reliable, obviously I'm not going to put it on my side or in my pocket or anything else. So let's go on out there and do that now. All right, guys. I'm out here on the range now ready to shoot the Sig P365. But before I do that, I also wanted to take an opportunity here to do a little bit of a comparison, because if I'm going to carry the Sig P365, that means it's probably going to take the place of something else that I'm already using. So I brought out a couple of the guns that it might replace in the rotation. First off, it might be replacing my LCP2. Now, I was going to name this LCP2 Reggie, because a friend of mine said it needed to be named Reggie, but I decided I wasn't going to because it pinched my finger, and I said, you know, if you don't stop pinching my finger, I'm not going to give you a name. But he convinced me, you know, that's not very fair of you. He said, you know, that's not very woke of you. It's not very tolerant of you. He says, I was born this way. My trigger was manufactured that way. There's nothing I can do about being a finger pincher. And yet you're discriminating against me because I'm a finger pincher. I said, you know what, you're right. And because I'm such a woke individual, I decided it was only fair that I went ahead and gave him a name anyway. So I'm going to name him Reggie. So now he's Reggie the Ruger. Now I have Smitty with a name and I've got Reggie with a name. Ain't nobody else going to get a name though. Don't think about it, Sig. It ain't going to happen. So Reggie the Ruger here, he might get replaced. You got a name, but you may not be in the rotation. This is your competition here. So let's do a little bit of comparison. He's hot right now because he's a carry gun. So we're going to unload him here, make him safe, take the mag out of our P365 as well. We're going to take a look at him here. And I don't know if you can see that, but Sig is definitely still a lot bigger than the Ruger. There's still a pretty good sizable amount of difference between them. Close the slides on both of them here. Ruger's hard to do. You can take a look here and line them up. You can see how much longer the Sig still is compared to the Ruger. Quite a bit, and then the length of the grips, there's a difference as well there. So definitely not as small as Reggie here for pocket carry. Reggie's definitely got the advantage in that. Obviously, I think the Sig's going to be better as far as shootability. Going to have a less recoil, possibly. But you got to remember, this is a 380 and this is a 9mm. So the 9mm is going to be more effective. So I don't know which one's going to have more recoil with the size difference. I'm going to have to compare them, right? Maybe the Sig won't pinch my finger though. So there's always that. But that's one comparison. The other is with my Smith & Wesson M&P 40C, which is now the same as their subcompact. Another thing I think you'll notice here is that all of these guns have the Talon Pro grips on them. This actually already had the Talon Pro on it when I bought it. And that was one of the selling points for me, is that's, you know, 20 bucks or whatever that I ain't got to spend on Talon grips to put on here, which I would do anyway. So that just added to the charm of this gun at the price point it was at anyway. So it's really apples to apples because they've all got Talon Pro grips on here. And so the grip texture is not going to affect my opinion of any of these guns. But to make that comparison here, you can see that the Smith & Wesson is definitely a bigger gun. It's wider, it's longer, but grip-wise, almost the same. So the grip length is really where you start seeing the printing. And concealability really has to do as much with the grip length as with anything. So this is definitely lighter, but not by a lot. I'd have to look up the specs to see what the actual weight differences are. I'm going to say it's probably 3 or 4 or 5 ounces difference, maybe. I mean, maybe enough. And the thickness is definitely where you see a difference here. One is definitely thicker than the other. So, you know, that's certainly something that that we need to take into account. The difference in the thickness of them is really apparent in the length, and you can really see that there. But we'll see how that translates into shootability. Also, this is a 40, and being a 40, this may have more recoil too. So this Sig may actually shoot better than either one of these other guns. It may have the upper hand as far as that goes. It may beat the M&P in comfort and the comfort of carry because it's slimmer and a little lighter. And it may beat the Ruger in shootability just because it's bigger and the Ruger is so small. Only problem is I don't know if it's going to be small enough for me to pocket carry. That's something I'm going to have to test out and see if it really is going to be able to function in that role, if it's really going to have to be a belt gun. So let's start off here and just do a little bit of shooting. Let's load up some magazines here, and we'll shoot the Sig P365, and we'll test it out against these other two guns and just see what I think in comparison to those other two. And by the end, maybe I'll know if I really am interested in swapping out and maybe carrying this gun. So let's load up some magazines. All right, guys. Now I've got the magazines loaded up. So I'm going to do a little bit of shooting here. And I've got 3 different magazines. I've got the flush fit 10 round. I've got the 10 round that has the little lip on it for your pinky. And then I've also got a 12 round magazine for the Sig. So I've got those 3 different types of magazines here that I'll be using for the Sig. I've just got the flush fit for my M&P 40C and just a flush fit for my Ruger LCP2, also known as Reggie now. I only use the flush fit with my pocket carry, and I only use the flush fit to carry with. So if I am carrying the Sig, it'll only be this flush fit that I use to carry. I may, you know, carry a spare mag and carry one of the others, but the one that goes on my waist or in my pocket's always just a flush fit magazine. So let's do a little bit of shooting, and we'll just start out and shoot all 3 mags of the Sig P365 and get a feel for it and just see what we think of it, and see if I can hit anything with it. If I can't, it's not my fault. It's the gun, obviously. You know, if I'd had time to practice before this, I'd be able to hit with it. So if I can't hit anything, it's not me. So of course, it's never me, right? It was the Model 13. It was that ammunition. It was always something. It's never me. You know, if I can't hit, it's always the gun's fault or somebody else's fault, right? So just making excuses. I'm going to go ahead and do some preemptive excuse making there, just in case. But we'll start off with the flush fit mag and see how that feels, and let's just see if I can hit anything at all with it. See where the sights hit, and see if it shoots well for me. See if the recoil feels too sharp, or how I like the trigger. You know, it felt a little bit mushy when I was shooting it, just dry firing, it felt like a really mushy trigger. But sometimes you don't feel that when you're actually shooting. It feels crisp then, so you can't always tell by the way it feels when you dry fire if that's really how it's going to feel when you actually have ammunition in there. But let's just do a little bit of shooting. We'll shoot some of the bigger stuff first and see if we can get an idea where it's hitting. And I'm not planning on doing any adjusting of the sights. We'll just have to use some Kentucky windage if that's what's necessary. But let's do a little bit of shooting now and just see if I can hit anything. We'll start off with the cowboy here. We'll see if I can hit anything on him. Seems to be hitting fairly well. Well, as soon as I said that, I missed. I think that was me. Yeah, I pulled that one off. Yeah, of course, the cowboy's turning on me too. That don't help anything. Let's go out there at 35 yards, see if I can hit that one. Pulling some of those a little low, I think. Can't see where I'm hitting it though. Right beside it. Right under it, I believe there. Well, I can't see what I'm hitting over there. I think I'm going low actually. Yeah. I think that's what it was. I think it shoots a little below point of impact. I usually like to take more of a 6 o'clock hold, more toward the bottom of the plate. And I'm having to take a little higher than I like. I'm really more of a dead on, but on the bottom side of dead on, if that makes any sense. Not dead center, but just slightly below that, but not all the way at the bottom. And I was really having to raise that up more toward the top. It wasn't a completely 12 o'clock hold, but I think that's what it was doing. I think I'm going low with it. Now that 12 round grip, I'm getting a little bit bigger. You get a little bit bigger grip here and you can get your pinky on there a little bit better. So it definitely feels better with this grip. Let's see. Let's try Mr. Cowboy again. Yeah, I don't know. This trigger is, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it exactly. It feels like it's not breaking when I think it's going to. Well, I don't know. I don't hate it, I'll put it that way. But it's, I felt better triggers, I'll put it that way. It's not terrible, but it's not the greatest in the world. I'm getting a little bit of trigger slap off of it too. I get some of that with my 40C as well, which I don't necessarily mind too much, but as cold as my hands are right now, I can really feel that trigger slap. This is American Eagle 115 grain full metal jacket that I'm shooting here. Almost went through a whole box of 50. I brought a box of Blazer out as well, which I'm going to go to now. And we'll I have a few more rounds left to go in this magazine. That's all of that one. Go ahead and load this third one up as well. I don't know. I'm getting the feeling it's not really shooting low. I think I'm just pulling it low. But something with that trigger pull is, I don't know if I'm flinching or if it's just something with the trigger, but I tend to be pulling it low, it seems like. So I'm gonna try it again and try to really focus on that. So I'm gonna shoot one mag of this, and then I'm gonna shoot the 40C and see how they stack up, see how they compare in my mind between the two. So let's start off with this flush fit magazine of the 365. Let me really concentrate on this trigger pull and make sure I'm not pulling this thing. it was just me. I just wasn't used to that trigger, and it breaks further back, I think, than what I think it does. And I think I was expecting it to go off, and maybe it's causing me to flinch a little bit because I wasn't really concentrating enough. I was letting my concentration slip, and I wasn't concentrating on that trigger pull enough. And so when I really slowed down and watched what I was doing, instead of just anticipating it going off where I thought it was going to, I just let it go off where it wanted to, where the actual brake is, and shot a little bit better. So it was just me, which is probably not the first time it's just been me. But let's see how that compares with the 40C. Now, I can definitely tell the 40C does not feel as long. The Sig P365, even with the flush fit mag, I can get my pinky a little bit on the bottom. It's not completely, you can see that. It's not completely on there, but I'm catching a little bit of it. With the Smith & Wesson, I can't get enough of it to keep it up there. So I shoot with my, now this is loaded, so I'm not pointing at myself or anything. That's a safe direction. There's nothing out there but my pond and a field. My pinky really can't get a grip. I have to shoot with my pinky under it. So the 365 is a longer grip than the Smith & Wesson 40C. Let's see how they compare. I think the 40C is probably snappier, to be perfectly honest, because I have less of a grip on it. And even though it's a little heavier, a little wider, this has a little more punch to it. Let me just shoot this a little bit and see how they compare. Well, I didn't do all that well, but I'm going to be honest, it's a different recoil impulse, but I don't know that it's really any worse. It's just different. I felt it a little more in my hand with the recoil, with the slide, but it really wasn't snappy, so to speak. Just a little heavier push. I think maybe the 365 is a little snappier, even though I think there was a little bit more push with the 40. With M&P 40C. So, I mean, all in all, not too bad. It's comparative. It's in the ball game. You know, I like both of them. And I'm going to have to get a little bit more used to that trigger, though. Of course, I've shot this 40C for a long time. So, you know, it's not exactly a fair comparison. The gun you just picked up, and this is the first time on camera that you're shooting a gun versus a gun that you've had for, you know, 5 years or however long I've had that one. So I'm going to shoot the 365 again, and then we're going to compare it with the LCP2. So let's take a few more shots here. See if I do a little bit better this time with this one. Yeah, it's just, it breaks a little further back than what I think it's. Hit this one again. There it goes. Last round. It's getting better. It's definitely getting better. I'm getting more used to it. It feels really good. Honestly, it really does. I think it does feel better than that 40C. This one may be losing its place in the rotation. It very well may be. The only thing saving grace is this grip is shorter, so it doesn't print as much. And that's really why I carry this one over my Glock 19. Should have brought the Glock 19 out here because I don't know, that may be what this really has to compete against, is the Glock 19. But being smaller and definitely shorter grip and lighter than the Glock 19, it's definitely got an edge there. But let's shoot it up against this LCP2. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Reggie and I don't get along. I don't enjoy shooting this little gun. I'm not particularly good with this little gun even. It's definitely a get off of me gun. It's a short range gun. I mean, the sights are very minimal. They're better than the original LCP, obviously. Those things were terrible. but they're still very small. My eyes are not that good, and we have a little trouble sometimes. So I'm gonna shoot him here and see if I can hit anything with him. But I can already tell you, I like the 365 more than I do this one for shooting. Now for pocket carry, I think this one's gonna stay in the rotation. I don't think that one's gonna be small enough to kick this one out. But anyway, let's shoot these rounds here and see how she does. That was a click. Oh, I hit the magazine release, apparently. I guess my thumb must have hit it under the recoil. That's the first time that's ever happened. But apparently that's what I did, and it didn't feed the next round because I'd popped the magazine out. Be careful about that. That's never happened before. That's concerning. I've had this gun for probably 3 years, and that's never happened before. And it just did it again. So is it me doing it, or make sure I keep my finger away from it and see what happens. Yeah, it didn't load because of that. Keep my finger away from it. Cowboy. Yeah, I guess it's just me. My finger hitting it. I think that was all of it. No, there's one more round, so I did it again. That's concerning. That's extremely concerning. He may have just lost his spot. That's never happened before, so I don't know what's going on. I do not know what's... And it popped out again. Huh. You know, I shot this gun... Oh, I've got some video that I think I put on the trailer of me shooting this gun. So, I mean, a month ago, and that didn't happen. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. That's very concerning. Something I'll have to definitely look into, figure out what's going on with that. Because I've never hit it before. I mean, I would say it's my fault, but I've shot that gun for a few years now, and I've never done that before. So I don't know if there's something that's broke on it that is causing it to... the magazine to drop out or what. But obviously I won't be carrying that gun until I figure it out. That's a good thing I found out about that here on the range and not when I needed it for something. But, and Smitty says, you don't ever have to worry about that with me, boss. I'll never do that to you. Trusty, reliable revolver. He just has to get on video. Anyway, I got another mag here for the 365. Let's go ahead and put a few more down range. This is the 12 round mag. Let's see how we like this one. What am I doing? Where it went? I don't know. Didn't feel like I was changing my grip any, but it started hitting again. Obviously, it's got to be me. Let's load up a few more rounds here and sling a few more. I may have been rushing that a little bit. I may not be as used to this trigger as I was thinking I was now. I thought I kind of had it mastered. I sped up a little bit. And I think it showed me I hadn't got it mastered yet. So, why you put the time in on the range before you carry a gun, so you feel confident with it when you do, because you have all these things worked out ahead of time. You don't ever want to just buy a gun and just stick it on your side and carry it around. Don't care how long you've been shooting or how good you are, because every gun you shoot is a little bit different. The triggers are just slightly different. They feel just a little different. And you really have to master each gun. Now, obviously, the better you are, the quicker you can master a gun. There's guys who can pick up a gun they never shot before and shoot better than I can after I've been shooting it for 2 years, you know. But generally speaking, most people need to get some time with a gun to really feel it out. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And you're getting to witness it. in all of its glory. Aren't you thankful? Aren't you glad I'm bringing you along? That's mighty nice of me, isn't it? All right. I think you ought to hit the like and subscribe button just for that. What do you think? Help me out there. All right, let's try that white plate again and see if I can actually hit something. Did I not put one in the chamber? It didn't go into battery. There it went. Slide didn't go all the way into battery when I racked around in it. Yep, all right. Just got to slow down. Yep. When I take my time, I'm doing pretty good. It's when I start rushing a little bit that I'm apparently jerking the trigger or something. I don't know. And it shoots well. I mean, I can't complain about the way it's shooting. Only got 1, 2, 5 more rounds in this box. So I'm just going to go ahead and load them up as well. And we'll shoot them off. Shoot these other full mags first, though. Went into battery that time. That's a little better. That's a little bit better. All right. Tell you what, I'm gonna shoot these 5 rounds here along with the one I think I just loaded up. Yeah. And then I'm gonna take that other mag and I'm gonna see if I can hit that 70 yard. From here, it's about 80 yard target. And so I'm gonna shoot the rest of these, and I'm gonna lob a few down there and see what kind of long range accuracy I can get with this little gun. Because it feels like if I take my time, I'm doing pretty good. So we'll give her a shot. As soon as I say that, I miss. All right. Let's take a few shots down here. All right, guys. We just lob a few down here and just see what happens. Maybe I can hit something, maybe not. I don't know. We'll give her a shot here and see. Well, 70 yards or so from here. See if I can hit him. The sights on this are pretty good. Cover up that entire target, but I can't really see where I'm hitting. I'm going just right beside. Like I'm going everywhere around it, but right on it. My last round, finally found it. Well, guys, I think that's about all the shooting I'm going to do right now. My hands are pretty cold. It's not particularly warm out here today. A little better than it has been. 14 degrees this morning, but we're up a little higher than that now. But let's go back in the shop and we'll finish this video. All right, guys, I'm back here in the shop now. So what are my final thoughts? Well, I like the Sig P365. I enjoyed shooting it. I'm not ready to carry it yet. I need more range time with it because I'm pulling it a little bit down. That trigger I'm still not completely used to. Showing you the gun here. It is unloaded. Take the magazine out. On the trigger here, it's got just a little bit of take up there, and then it's kind of spongy. It feels like right there it should break, and it doesn't. it goes back a little bit further. It feels like you kind of hit a wall, but you don't. It's take up, and then it feels like it hits a wall, and it feels like it's going to break, and it just keeps going back, and it's mushy. I mean, there's no other word I can think to describe it. It's not crisp. Now, when you're shooting it, you don't really notice that it's not crisp, but if you're not careful, you start flinching, expecting the recoil. You kind of tense up, ready for that recoil, to fight the recoil before the recoil comes. And what happens is you pull it down before you shoot. And I think that's what was happening. I was pulling it down and causing myself to miss low. And I thought initially it was just because the sights were set a little off from where I normally shoot, and I needed to aim a little higher. Well, that didn't fix the problem. And when I really took my time and really felt the trigger and just let it go and didn't anticipate the recoil and focused a little bit more, then it hit right dead on. And so it really was me. And I'm not trying to fault the trigger. You can get used to any trigger. I mean, they're all different. Some are better than others, and there may be a lot of Sig P365s that are better than this one in particular. Each gun is different. And so it really is just a matter of me getting a little bit more used to it so I don't anticipate that recoil. Because I'm not really attempting to fight the recoil so much because it's too much. I'm just trying to get back on target with a gun, right? You just want to be able to shoot that round and be back on target to shoot the next round. And so you're fighting the recoil for that, not because it's going to get out of hand or anything. And when you practice with your guns and you start to really know where that break is, you're able to do that a little bit better. I've got to put some more rounds down range and get more accustomed to how this shoots, but it shoots really well. It does. And it's just me that needs more practice. There's nothing wrong with this gun whatsoever. I thought it shot really well, and I thought the recoil impulse was really nice on it too. It really was not bad at all. I was afraid it was really going to be snappy, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't any worse than my M&P 40C. And, that one is a little snappy, and this one is too, a little bit, but it's not bad. It's not uncontrollable by any means. It's not like you just feel like you're getting beat up. It's not a 44 Magnum or anything like that, that really puts a hurting on you. So all in all, I think it's a really good gun. And I'm pleased with it, and I think it's probably going to end up in my carry rotation once I'm ready, once I've prepared myself enough and put enough rounds down range that I feel comfortable with it. I feel comfortable with my knowledge of the gun, my understanding of the trigger, the way I shoot it, and I've got enough rounds that I really feel like it's dependable. And that's kind of what I've got now with the LCP2 here. I've got that problem of it not being very dependable right now, and I don't know why. It hasn't been that long since I shot it. I wasn't having that problem the last time. But one thing I do remember is the last time it was not locking back. The magazine wasn't locking it back on the last round, which the LCP2 magazine is supposed to. I've got an LCP1 magazine as well that won't lock it back and never has. But I noticed where neither one was locking it back at the very end of my last range session, so I'm wondering if it's a magazine issue and not a gun issue. But I won't know that until I really, start tearing it down and doing some detailed looking at what's going on here, and maybe a little research, and maybe buy another magazine and see if it's still doing it with the other magazine. Or, I can't carry this gun anymore, obviously. I just gave him the name Reggie, and he doesn't appreciate it. He's now taking over this video. It's a Sig P365 video, and he's made himself the center stage now by malfunctioning. So, I don't know what to do. I try to be good to them, and, they show out like this on camera. So it is what it is. And unfortunately, one of my carry guns is now out of the rotation until, something happens or I just get rid of it or whatever. But Reggie has let me down today. But, the 365 did really well. It shoots well, and I just got to get a little bit more used to it, and I think I will. And I think I'll end up carrying it. So I appreciate you guys coming out. Y'all take care. God bless you, and we'll see you again next time.